Hi everyone, you're back with Chloe and Amber for part 2 of all things superannuation. We are going to go straight into a practical breakdown of how superannuation interests can be split when a couple divides their property after a relationship breakdown. So I'll take it over to you, Chloe. What is step 1?
So step 1 is just setting the tone as you can after a separation enter into a superannuation agreement. This agreement essentially outlines how super is going to be split, and if it's going to be split, who's going to see what money as well, and that's step 1.
Great. And then step 2 is basically superannuation is different to other property. There are special rules about how what superannuation agreements need to say. The agreement must comply with legal requirements for that superannuation to be binding. So at that point, we would encourage you to get some legal advice. Chloe, step 3?
Step 3 is obtaining valuation of your superannuation account. There are some rules of how this looks like and what it has to comply with, but this is a really important step so that there's full disclosure about how much super each party has. So that's step 3.
Then once you've done that, step 4 is you can try and negotiate with the other party. That can be in the form of just negotiating between yourselves or utilising a mediation service, which can be a great avenue to ultimately reach an agreement. And it's also important to remember that mediation you can also have a lawyer present if needed. If you reach an agreement, then that agreement needs to be formalised into a financial agreement that will then be binding and bind the superannuation interest. Step 5, Chloe?
Step 5, unfortunately, mediation agreement and reaching an agreement doesn't always work. If it doesn't work, superannuation can still be considered through a property settlement through court, and then that will be made into an order about what the people have to do, or more so what the trust funds have to do in splitting the super and then holding on trust for each party. Negotiations can still be reached throughout the court process, but if not, an ultimate decision will be made by the judge about how the super will be split, which then takes us to step 6.
Yeah, so step 6 is basically that whatever order the court makes, that order then is binding on the trustee of that superannuation fund.
Perfect, so that's our 6 steps about a super split. Some things to remember in the background is the law applies the same to married and de facto couples. Any of these considerations or agreements can be started as soon as you separate. It's important for de facto couples to know there's a 2-year time limitation to start a property settlement once they separate. So that includes a super split. For people that are married, you can also start it straight away. You don't need to be divorced in order to get a super split. And then lucky last is always seek legal advice, because this is a very tricky area of law, and it's got to do with money and financial security. So it's important to make sure you get it right, because once it's an order, it's binding. That is it. And no going back after that.
Yeah.
But speaking of super, we do have some stats that we want to break down about women and super and money, and I'll hand it over to Amber, who will talk about those as well.
Yeah, so just quickly, the reason why we are very passionate about superannuation, specifically for our women, is that there is a large gap between the superannuation savings of Australian men and women, because the current superannuation system is so directly linked to paid work. It overwhelmingly disadvantages women who are more likely to move in and out of paid work to care for family members. So women at the moment currently retire with 47% less superannuation than men.
Which is huge.
It's huge. And 40% of older single retired women live at the moment in poverty and are experiencing economic insecurity in retirement. So That's staggering.
Some pretty big statistics, but in saying that, we want to make sure that these statistics don't stay the same. As always, come to us for legal advice. No question is a silly question, even if it's just curiosity. Please come and see us for a chat. Number is 89524055. We're back to face-to-face appointments at the moment with social distancing, but please come in for your appointment for any legal question. Stay safe, everyone, and we look forward to next week.